Hey guys, this is our ProMat session on how AI and computer vision can impact inventory tracking end-to-end and warehouse operations. So I'm your moderator. I'm Jackie, founder and CEO of Corvus Robotics. If you guys look behind you, you'll see Corvus as this tall booth behind you. And we've got Greg and Steph as well. Greg wanted me to introduce him with his old title as VP of Cool Stuff. And I will let Greg and Steph introduce themselves.
So Greg Powers, my title is VP of Cool Stuff, and there's a story behind that. But I started our advanced automation group, which focuses on robotics and vision and AGVs and AMRs. It's kind of all the cool stuff, so that's why I kind of got that title. Since then, I've been promoted to VP of Automation, but I like my old title better, so I'm kind of sticking with it. Just to give you a little background, Gray AES, basically we're an automation professionals, system integrators. We basically do massive greenfields, but we also do just automation to smaller brownfields and things like that. But we basically can design and build an entire manufacturing, and we put all the automation and the controls in those facilities. That's me.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Steph Hobley-Lloyd. I'm the Senior Offering Manager for Honeywell. I work in the industrial automation part of Honeywell under productivity, products and solutions. My role as Offering Manager is I design and take to market a piece of software which uses cameras to collect data, and whether that data is in form of a barcode or alphanumeric text, or in terms of capturing images and processing images, that's my role. Thank you.
Yep. And we also had Austin at the 3PL Stasi, but he wasn't able to make it due to family emergency, unfortunately. So this session is really about AI and computer vision for transforming end-to-end inventory tracking. Everybody is talking about AI at this show, at every company. It's one of the key topics today. With ChatGPT coming out 2-ish years ago, everybody's figuring out how can AI, be implemented in our companies, both for workflows and also for computer vision, the computer vision part of machine learning. So we wanted to talk about, how we can use these to, change things for cycle counts, for physical inventory, avoid stockouts, overstock, and sort of the downstream cost and finance. So to start out, to Greg and Steph, what is possible now that wasn't possible, say even 2 or 3 years ago?
So one thing I want to say about vision and AI, if you've worked with vision systems, they've had AI embedded into them for a long time. If you see some of those systems, we do a lot of camera systems and quality inspections, and all that's really picking out bad product or something like that, or even looking at a pallet to see if it's able to fit in an ASRS system. We've been using this technology for 20 years, so it's not new. AI has kind of made that even better, made it more possible to do some of this. Also, the software costs have lowered, so you're seeing a lot more. I have to say, if I look at any manufacturing company and they haven't invested in some kind of vision systems or AI, then they're probably behind, because it's so common right now. We use it in, we have, just to give you an example, we have a robotic dog, Boston Dynamics, that goes out and does vision checks of basically controls throughout the facility. That's how it's come around. So that's what's possible now.
Yeah. And Honeywell provides some of the best computer vision AI technology on the planet. I'd be curious, what you've seen in terms of stuff, in terms of what's possible now that wasn't just a few years ago.
I think I agree with you, Greg. I think that it's always been around. I think it's actually just becoming more sustainable and achievable by smaller businesses as well as the large enterprises. I think there is a lot more flexibility in the terms of the hardware that you can use. There's obviously, software providers that provide different levels of software, so that you don't necessarily need all the skill set to scale up a big vision system, and I think that's what's changed.
Yep.
I think people do want to do it, but they couldn't do these big deployments, and I think that's where we're different. We're definitely focusing more in, where I come from, we definitely focus more in the warehouse and in the distribution center rather than in manufacturing. And you were definitely seeing a massive uptake in what can it do in there to improve my processes and automate.
From our perspective at Corvus Robotics, seeing, building autonomous robots here in the US, I think there's two key things that we're seeing that are possible with AI and computer vision today on a technology level that wasn't possible just 3 years ago. The first one is actually robust autonomy. And we're seeing, there's sort of leaders separating from the pack in having robots actually autonomously, navigate inside of some of these warehouses and factories in a way that wasn't really robust before. There would be a lot of, sort of collisions or, human interventions every so many feet and so on. The second thing is, to Steph's point of the wider availability of software in being able to do, for example, case counting. We can count the number of cases very quickly, very easily, just from an image, which wasn't, really possible a few years ago. So sort of that segues into the next question that I had, which is computer vision and machine learning falls under this wider trend of AI automation, which every company, including our own, is trying to figure out how to adopt. Right, it's to stay ahead of the curve, to Greg's point, as opposed to behind it. What's something surprising about how your companies or you're seeing folks using AI today that wasn't being done before?
I need to think about that question. Sorry.
Okay. I mean, we're starting to see, so we do a lot of automation and control, so embedding that closed loop system and using AI to do that closed loop system, where you're not really having an operator make decisions now. We're actually integrating that. And you'll see a lot of software out there, even in the controllers, that have AI embedded into the controllers. So the technology's here to really kind of provide that closed loop system. We do a lot of robotics, AGVs and AMR deployments. You start to see more AI embedded into some of those smart systems, AMRs that go around objects, things like that. Kind of all built into the technology already.
So we were talking a little earlier about embedded AI, in that you're seeing there be multiple modalities of robotics and AI kind of being implemented or orchestrated with an overarching, something like ChatGPT on the back end or something like that, right, Greg?
Yeah, we actually did some testing and I just see this HMIs of the future. Maybe they're embedded AI, maybe they're not. Where you got to press buttons. Maybe I just have an operator assistant kind of. That's where I see some of this technology coming, where I can just maybe look at operators are more asking questions, and AI is providing them answers to how to fix their equipment or do whatever. So that's where I see it.
So we were talking before this, actually, is one of the things that we're working on at the moment is where if you think about damaged products coming into your business and you take an image of that damaged box, so the user, all they would do is take an image of that box. What happens on in the background is that box is then measured in terms of the level of damage. All the information is taken from that box, so there's no typing in forms, writing anything down. It's all done, it's all completely automated in the background. All the user has to do, if it's a user with a camera on a device, is take a picture, or you could actually just have it through fixed cameras on, dock door as they come in, and all that information is automatically uploaded. That could be alphanumeric text, it could be handwritten, it could be anything. And you could do that. It completely automates things. How you process that and where you process it can also change. So one of the things that Honeywell is doing is we have an AI framework. Our AI framework is around where's the best place to process that data. So that could be in the cloud, right? Because the data is large and you need that processing power. It could be on an edge box, like an on-prem edge box, or it could actually be on the device. So we are actually working with Qualcomm. It's a strategic partner for Honeywell. And what that means is our devices that we bring out will have much more powerful processors on it. So again, the point of the framework is it then decides which way you're going to process that data. That changes things, that changes the cost, that changes, how much latency you may get. And of course, embedded as well, you were talking about, we're also doing embedding AI into some of our scanners. So we have handheld rugged scanners. Everybody goes, oh, it's a scanner, scans a barcode, but we've actually put some AI in there, which means that, the worst of the barcode is printed. It could be it still understands it, it still thinks it. So it's speeding up those processes.
So we're talking about embedded and embodied AI. Do you guys think that in the future more and more form factors, whether they're drones or ground robots or handheld scanners or other things, will have AI in them?
Yes, I do.
100%. And I'm even expecting, when I come to these conferences, I want to see more equipment embedded with the AI embedded into their control. And that's where I'm going to see it in a few years. Guarantee it'll happen. Next couple years at a conference, you're going to see something talking to you from a machine. I think that's kind of my expectations from equipment providers to provide that stuff.
Steph, what's your perspective?
I totally agree. I mean, it's already happening now.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already, like I said, we're already embedding it into a handheld scanner.
Yeah.
We're going to put it in we're putting it into our devices. It will go into our printers. You're seeing it around the show. You see it everywhere. So absolutely.
Yep.
Just the beginning.
Yep. And our partnership with Honeywell means that we're embedding the Honeywell AI scan engine into each one of our drones and our other future products as well. I guess a question, going in a different topic, what seems not real? There's a lot of hype about AI and, these high valuations for some of these, sort of talks of an AI bubble. What have you guys seen as something that's probably not real? What are some of the limitations today in AI? And do you think those limitations will change in the coming months?
So I haven't actually seen anything that's not real. I think the key that you said there is limitations, right? And I think that, it's not magic, right? So, I think people don't necessarily understand sometimes the amount of work that has to go into a model, that, this could be a couple of days to a few weeks, the types of data that they're going to need. And I think that's a big challenge for a lot of customers is their data quality.
Right.
I think people need to understand about hallucinations. And, I think we have to be very careful about what you spin up. And proof of concepts are very important to do for customers to understand what the real limitations are. And if you're asking for something really specific, that also has challenges itself as well. So when it's generic, it's not so bad. But when it's very specific, it can be challenging.
Yeah, I kind of say the same thing. I mean, the reason why, human brains, they learn things, they can make decisions based on experience. If you don't train your models with if it doesn't know about that, it's really a human's guessing. Well, computers don't really guess. I mean, but you have to provide it the model. You have to provide it the training. You really got to have that. So if you don't do that, you're not going to have the AI that you expect. And I agree, proof of concepts are a great way to do something. We always do proof of concepts. Let's prove something out before we go scale it up. So I think that's, so I always think, I'd hate to say that it's not possible, because I might say that and next year they'll come up with something.
Right.
So I don't want to commit myself to being wrong, because I think everything's possible right now.
Yeah. So what you guys are saying is the data specific to that use case or to that facility or workflow, as well as the model that trains on that data, is really important. So if we're collecting the data, the right data, and training that on the right model, then we might have a chance. Yeah. So walk me through an example scenario, for example, for AI or computer vision applied to inventory, and how that computer vision fits into this.
So, I mean, we're using Corvus' solution right now to do inventory checks of pallets within racks and all that. We're also leveraging, could we use these drones to actually do some validation on the pallets? We get the right pallets for the right truck. This is a new concept. So I think those are some of the things we're doing a lot with vision right now to validate the pallets. I mean, we do a lot of AGVs and AMRs picking up stuff. Well, if that pallet's skewed somewhat, an AGV can't pick it up, or if it needs to go into ASRS system, it can't. So we're doing a lot of validation of that before it gets put into, or otherwise you could shut down the ASRS system, or you could shut down the AGV. So,
Are you able to share which customer? We might actually not. I don't know.
I don't know if I can.
Okay, yeah, never mind. Yeah, for some of the use cases, for pallet racks as well as for bulk locations sitting on the ground, being able to use AI and computer vision to, validate what every location is before the people or the AGVs or the ASRS gets there. So related to this, what does the hard ROI calculation look like, for this project or for other types of AI and computer vision projects?
That's a really good question, but very difficult to answer because it's really based on the customer user case, right? I don't know what their pain point is. I don't know how much it's costing them to do the process in the way that they're doing it today and how that's going to change. And I think that's the whole point of a proof of concept, is to work out what that ROI is. And there's lots of things that go into that. So yeah, that's almost an impossible question to answer.
Yeah, I think everyone's looking at, the workforce trying to reduce labor.
Yep.
That's a big one, but sometimes they can't, and sometimes it could be just quality. It's a quality issue involved. So you're improving quality. Safety is another thing. Improving
Particularly
safety.
quality of data, right?
Yeah.
Taking something that potentially was a manual process, and when I mean manual, I don't necessarily mean you're writing it on a piece and a pen and a piece of paper. It could be that you're typing that data in, or you're just storing it somewhere and you're not doing anything with it. So that's really important.
Yeah, give a good example. We've implemented a lot of vision systems to actually pick out quality issues of products. What we found out is a lot of times the customer's like, can you tweak this down a little bit because we're getting too many rejects? And the reason being is it's doing what it's supposed to. It's just we missed a lot because it was operators actually doing a lot of that validation. So they wanted us to tweak it down a little bit. But understand.
Are you seeing the computer vision technologies with AI changing these days to be more accurate or decrease the amount of false positives or false negatives?
I think it's all about the training of the model. That's the key to everything. It's kind of unique, though. We're starting to see actually companies doing synthetic data of basically they'll take pictures and videos of their whatever product, and they'll do the synthetic data and then go sell that training model to a company. It's kind of interesting, but that's how it's going right now. We've got a few of those right now that's they're selling the model.
Well, it's clear that the business environment is changing very rapidly around us and the AI technologies as well. So in your opinion, why should we adopt AI and computer vision for inventory management now?
I think you got to be competitive. It's all about it's coming. You're going to see it with e-commerce and everything that's kind of picked up a little bit. I mean, material handling is a huge area of growth right now, and if you're looking at vision now, you're going to have an edge. And I think some of the things that vision systems and inventory it has to happen. I mean, you're not going to have a choice because a lot of these are AMRs, AGVs, lights out types for places. They need that learning AI embedded vision systems.
And I also think it really does support and enables like that end-to-end supply chain visibility. We talk about it, but it's not always happening and it's not always possible. But I think by using images, you can, at every single point, and if companies are doing it from the point of manufacture right to the point of delivery, then you've got complete visibility of that product right through the supply chain in terms of images and how you process those images.
Yeah. To that point, I mean, Honeywell provides a lot of that software for computer vision and AI. And so if we were in the scanners from the point of production to distribution to the end point of sale, and if we were to integrate that into new devices, embedded new devices like drones or other scanner systems, we could probably actually collect where every single pallet, every single carton has been through the entire supply chain.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's super powerful.
That's like blockchain with,
Yeah. Blockchain with vision.
Turn your supply chain into blockchain, guys.
We've just invented something new.
How fast is the cycle are you guys seeing from starting a deployment to finding our ROI with AI now versus sort of the more traditional automation technologies of 10, 20 years ago?
That's a really difficult one for me to answer. We've got a lot of current proof of concepts going on. We're very... We've got a lot of customers in retail, and they're looking, talk about vision technology, they're looking at like shelf edge cameras to manage inventory 24/7. So, right product in the right place, triggering stock outs, triggering products in the wrong place, triggering the wrong price, reducing that manual labor of having to go around and doing all this inventory tracking in store. But we're seeing projects are taking anywhere between 6 months to a year. And I think there's still a lot of hesitation about deploying cameras in that environment, mainly because of, there's privacy, but also you've got to maintain those cameras, right? So, they've got to be cleaned, they've got to be charged, they've got to be installed. So there's still a lot of hesitation around the investment into the hardware and that long-term investment into hardware, because it's not just about putting that hardware in, it's also about maintaining that hardware, and because your software is only as good as the camera as well. So I think there's still a lot of hesitation around there. So it's taking anywhere between 6 months to a year.
Yeah, we're kind of, it's really that proof of concept. Once you start that proof of concept doesn't give you an ROI. It's usually when you do the full-blown rollout across, that's when you see the ROI. So it could be anywhere from 6 months to a year before you'll see that. So it all depends.
Yeah. Wanted to open up for questions from the audience. Feel free to raise your hand. I'll try to listen to you and try to repeat the question. Yes. Oh, sorry. We're grabbing the mic from the back. Let's give Andrew 1 minute.
Greg, this is a question for you. You had mentioned as far as the pallet validation, you were looking at potentially using drones for that. Are you able to kind of give a little bit more on that use case? I'm curious why drones would be appropriate for it versus, stationary cameras in certain situations.
So the way we already have drones at the facility. We said, why can't we reuse that whole and do that? So they stage all these pallets on a staging lane, but it's manual forklifts that bring there, and just if they do it wrong, instead of waiting as they load the truck, we could actually just do a visual scan with the drone to actually validate that. And we looked at stationary cameras, but the cost was more expensive than just using the drone as possible. That's why we did it.
Okay, thank you.
And what's running in that drone is a piece of software that's using image capture in the camera of that drone. That's my software. Just put it in there.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I had a question about combining sensing technology instead of, I know we talk about vision a lot, but the limitations being okay, everything has to be neat and organized. What about depth? Sometimes you have the pallets behind that are not, you can't always pre-calculate that, it's going to be whatever you see on the face projected backwards. I was wondering why maybe weight sensors, like simple load cells, haven't been kind of leveraged. So maybe we combine, for real-time inventory. So you could, potentially swap materials, or even a bay would be one product, but as soon as it goes empty, you have a new weight that would go with maybe an RFID tag that could kind of say, okay, this is a new product, and now the weight of this is this. You can count based on like real-time weight. You could probably combine it with other things. I don't know, maybe using thermal in some cases, or we deal a lot with metal parts, so like you can't really do a lot of RFID through like to try to count pieces and things like that for the tags, even if everything was labeled. You get a lot of interference and things like that. So I was wondering, summary of this question, if we can combine different types of sensors to get the true, real time, what's in that bay at this very moment type of solution.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's all about the cost. I mean, load cells, and that's kind of expensive. So do I need it?
Per location, yeah.
I don't know if I need it or not. So RFID is really common too. I mean, you can scan RFID as well using a drone. So all that technology is possible. So you can combine it.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to cost and accuracy as well. I mean, to Greg's point, like RFID, we've put that on the drones before, but it's a question of the tags. And so what we're seeing for the RFID tags is that they're not particularly accurate. Whether it's a drone with a reader or a human with a reader, you can get within maybe 10 feet by 10 feet or something like that, right? But especially if you have metal parts, the signals from the RFID tags may not, make it through. And so you may have a read, and if you do get a read, it may be within this sort of 10-foot square, but then you don't have the accuracy. Plus, you have the cost of having to put tags and readers.
Yeah, and I would just follow really quick. Is there I guess I was asking, is there a focus to try to count or do inventory in a non-neat environment, or are we always looking at like very crisp, clear cubes and good layouts, or are we looking at like potentially, a pile of stuff and then trying to like count through that?
Good question.
So
go ahead.
we are working on some models. So let's take, for example, fresh fruit or vegetables, right? So there's hundreds of those as well. And wouldn't it be great if we could, one, check the quality when it comes in to make sure that you want that on your shop floor, but actually when it's on the shop floor, how many have I still got left? And how many of those that are left maybe need to be taken out because they're overripe or they're damaged, which means that, the store's always got to think, but actually the models for that are huge. And we're not there yet, but it's definitely something we're looking at, and it's that count what we're getting asked for, not just in retail on fruit, by the way. We're getting asked for count on being able to count boxes, whether or not they've got a label on them, being able to count pipes with no labels, just on the fact that they're all together, and we're getting there.
Car parts.
Yeah.
Car parts, yeah, absolutely.
Selfishly.
Absolutely. You can actually get it with machine vision, with the right models, with the training. You should be able to do as much count, but again, with vision, you're only going to count what you can see. It's only as good as our eyes, right? So it's still, then if there's other things underneath that, you're not going to get those. And I understand what you're saying about the weight thing, but the only other thing about the weight thing is you have to capture the right weight at the beginning. Otherwise, everything you do after that is completely worthless. And that's still a process in a lot of businesses, which is still very manual, right? So, and if you're inputting a manual weight and you put the wrong weight in, that has, serious impact right the way through the business. Yeah. So our role really at Honeywell is to automate, those manual processes with vision technology, whether that's a camera on a device or whether that's a fixed camera, so that we change those processes.
Perfect, thank you.
I just wanted to follow up on two things that we do a lot of distilleries. We're in Lexington, so we do a lot of distilleries. But if you ever seen a brick house, I mean, the barrels that are stacked high, we were actually using drones to actually go through those and not only scan the RFID chips on them, but also validate, are they good, if they're leaking. The problem with is the space between those barrels is probably about 6 inches, so it's really a tiny space, but it's just one of those opportunities really to do not only scanning, but verifying, the product's okay where it's sitting, it's not leaking or spilled or anything like that. Another thing, we use a lot of hyperspective cameras. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, where they, our vision only sees a certain wavelength, but hyperspective cameras can see outside that. They can tell if meat's cooked inside. So the vision systems have come along a long way. So, and those were really expensive 5 years ago, not so, a little cheaper nowadays. So.
A partnership we announced with Honeywell is using using Honeywell's multi barcode scan engine, software, along with our case counting AI. And so this case counting AI can have the boxes and the cases in very disparate. I mean, some of them are shoe boxes, right? So it's like a location where people have just dumped a bunch of shoe boxes, and we're able to get that accurate count. But we're still working on the car parts for you. So give us some time.
Put them in boxes.
When I think about artificial intelligence, it seems to be based on large data sets to train models, huge computing power to find patterns within those data sets, and to be able to unlock, new ways of seeing that data. When you talk about embedding that in a device like a scanner, that seems not to be really possible given the limitations of the hardware that would be in a scanner or any device that I can see in front of me. So is that really truly AI, or is that just rebranding good programming of a device? Can you explain how you actually embed it into a small device or even a medium-sized device?
Yeah, I can take a quick stab and then toss it over to Steph.
away.
Yeah, stab away. It feels like I'm in a jousting tournament. It depends. But what we do at Corvus is we take a lot of data that we collect with our drones at different warehouses and different facilities and distill this into a small model, the weights of which can be put on a small device like a drone, which literally you can hold on your hand. And we have some other devices coming forward along with our partnership with Honeywell that runs some of the Honeywell computer vision stack on there as well. So it's these small models with distilled weights put on them that it's running. It's not the full training model because that takes racks of GPUs. But the sort of the embedded models that we sort of make quite small can be run on devices with proper engineering and intelligent work. Steph, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
No, I think that's a really good way of explaining it. What I would say, though, is if you come to our stand, we've actually got the offering manager here for our handheld scanner, which
Where's
has
your
AI
stand,
in it.
Steph?
Huh?
Where is your stand?
I don't know. Monica, where's our stand? It's over in A, and I don't know the number,
The
but
A
I'll come back
building.
to you on the number. I'll have a look in a minute. But if you want to come over and speak to the offerings manager, they can tell you how they've put that AI model into that scan engine. And it's really around, it increased the speed of reading by something like 35%. It was really, really, really outstanding. So I don't know enough about our hardware to be able to comment on it, but by all means come along and I'm sure they can tell you how they achieved it.
I think it's more of a comment on the question that was asked earlier. I think the gentleman may be thinking of large language models versus what you're talking about is just differentiating, is it a good board versus a bad board? That level of AI can be embedded in a chip, the way you're thinking of, versus a large language model.
Yeah, you're seeing that a lot out of the controllers. I don't know if you got Rockwell. Rockwell actually have embedded AI in their controllers now, so it's happening. I don't know how good it is yet, but it just came out not too long ago. But we're in the controllers that actually got AI embedded into it.
Yeah, I would say for large language models, that's not really what we do. There's really no reason that you should be talking or typing to your drone. There's nothing you should really be asking it. It should be autonomous. It should be checking your inventory for you by itself on a routine. But we have a computer vision model of the entire warehouse that the drone uses to fly inside and understand its environment, understand what it's seeing and understand what to do. And that's it's not something that requires an entire data center in Tennessee to run, for example. So I wanted to do a closing question, which is what advice would you give to organizations who are on the fence about whether to adopt AI and computer vision in their inventory processes?
I would say that bring in a technology company that can support, do a walkthrough, understand your business, understand your problem areas, and then somebody who's prepared to obviously help with a proof of concept. But I think that we're at the stage now that this is available to all different types, sizes of businesses, and that don't sit on the fence and look, do that next step, get somebody in, get them to come and walk around your business with you and help you make that decision.
Yeah, so we're a system integrator because we do that, and we do walkthroughs on manufacturing and actually seeing some of the capabilities. But the one thing I think everyone fears that it's very expensive. I'd have to say it is not expensive anymore. I mean, it's not that where you got to spend a huge investment. You'd be surprised at what the cost is. Some of this equipment can be leased, things like that. So really take a look at it and see where you might have some value or bring someone in that can help with this. But I think it's worth it to at least do a proof of concept.
Yeah, I think it's really important also, and this is one of the feedback we had from in a retail group, is that a lot of people were looking at a single process and how they can fix that one single process, and the ROI on that may not be so great because it's just one process. So I think it's around getting people in to understand exactly what it is you want to do right across your business. And, there may be different types of technology within AI, whether that's LLMs or whether that's models, whatever, that's going to really help you. But I wouldn't personally just sit on the fence. I would start talking to people now because it is very achievable and it doesn't have to be this huge uplift in terms of cost and hardware to get going these days. You could start very small and build.
Yeah, I think the earlier that you implement AI, computer vision for inventory tracking, for other purposes, the earlier you're getting your reps in, you're sort of exercising your AI muscles, and the more that your team is building the expertise to work with AI, and they'll stay up to date on the things that are coming. AI is changing really rapidly. Every 6 months, every year or two, there's these mind-blowing new models that are changing. There's new products, like we're launching new products this year. And it takes a lot to stay ahead of that. To Greg's point, I mean, it's if you're not ahead, you're sort of behind, right? It doesn't take a lot necessarily. You can do a pilot in a pretty affordable way to sort of dip your toes, find the ROI, build up the business case, and find the ROI before you make that full plunge.
Yeah, the customer that we actually implemented Corvus' solution, it was a proof of concept, and it worked really well. And they're adding more functionality to the drone. They see the value.
Yeah. Our booth is back there. If you turn your head, you'll see the big Corvus. Where is the Honeywell booth? It's
in the A hall,
A hall.
and we are on 618.
618. Cool.
Please come and see us.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
So we've got a couple minutes. We wanted to return this time to you and a little bit early, give everybody a little bit of a break, and we'll be up here to talk as well. Thank you so much for my companions coming up here and talking about AI and inventory tracking with me, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.